So we're just continuing on from where we previously left off. We have all of our, well, the basic shapes of the patterns. So now what we want to do is sew these together so they all pull together. Now down here, we've already looked up here briefly at the pattern editing and creation tools. Down here is where you have your sewing tools. I'll just make this a little bit bigger. And what we're going to do now is define which edge is sewn to what other edge. So if we select this tool here and hover over an edge, you'll see it turns a colour, and then you can specify a point where that's going to sew from. So if we click that edge there, we know that that needs to sew onto this edge here. And we also know that this pattern is facing the opposite way. So we can click there, and that's dictated that these two areas are sewn, and you can also see it updated here. So we know that these red lines, when we simulate, are going to be pulled together. So if we do the same with the other strap, like so, and it's updated here as well. And now we can carry on and work our way through. So this area is sewn to here, this area is sewn to here, and so on and so forth. Just work our way through. Now, what you can do is you can sew to opposite sides like that. And what that's going to do is that will cause a twist. But we just want a straight sew for now. Like so. Now, another option is to use the free sewing tool, and rather than dictate a full edge being sewn to a full edge, you can use that just to sew a portion of an edge to another portion of a different edge. For now though, we're happy with just sewing edges straight together. So they're all sewn, but now we just need to sew these in the middle too. So again, top, bottom, top, bottom. This is pretty straightforward because it's quite a basic pattern, and we know what edges are sewing to what. And they're all different colours, so it's really handy and useful to look at. So if we turn around to the back, we'll notice that this is shifted over slightly, but we'll leave that for now. So now if we simulate this, let's just turn around to the front. You'll notice that all those sewn edges are now pulling in together. So rather than dropping to the floor, it's wrapping around the character, and you're starting to form a proper garment. Now the straps have fallen down, but then this is where it comes into, this is where dictating where the actual patterns are around the character is important. So let's just move these rear panels over slightly, and we could maybe raise them a little bit, and the same with the front, like so. Run another simulation and it still drops down a bit, but then again it may be that it's looking quite baggy around here, so maybe the shape isn't right yet. What we'll do is we will select everything and just move it up a notch, like so. Although maybe I'll do it in the right window this time. Move all that up. Let's try this one. So that's fitting a lot better. We've got it over the shoulders, and now, like I showed earlier, we could just pull this down to position this where we want it. But again, we can just see it's too baggy around here. So now we can start to, with simulate still on, we could maybe go in and say, right, let's pull in some of the points around her waist. So with snap still enabled, we could pull in those points there, and that's starting to tuck the waist in. Do the same around the back. Just pull those points in like so. And maybe the back is just too wide, so maybe let's just like that. Move that in 2 grid spaces and do the same with the other side. So we're just pulling those points in and just forming this shape. Again, we can pull this up just to cover her up slightly. Move these so they're actually on her shoulder instead. Now, if they're moving too far down, we could maybe experiment with the shape of those as well. So maybe, let's say, maybe we make them a little bit shorter. Let's just move these down so they're all lined up properly. One more, there we go. And as it's updating in here, we can see what's going on. Let's maybe make these shorter too. So that's just tightening those straps. And that's allowing us now, we can pull these up over a shoulder or through a shoulder like so. Just try and get that over there. As you can see, as I'm selecting the patterns in here, in this panel here, when I click on a pattern, a blue dot appears, and that just to show it's just to highlight which particular pattern I'm selecting in the view here. And that's handy for if you're sewing or working on a complex piece of cloth and you want to know that panel needs to sew to that panel. It's just a quick way of displaying that and knowing which is which. So from here we can just play around with this shape as much as we like. Let's maybe make the area around her middle a bit longer and the upper area shorter, like so. You can click this to reset the patterns and then run the simulation again if the simulation gets a bit too wild. Again, let's pull this down. Oops. But there we've just created some very basic patterns and simulated them around the character, sewed them together and just started pulling it around and just getting sort of the look and feel that we want. Now, what we're going to do in the next video is we're just going to continue to work on the bodice, but we'll look at adding in curves and also adding in using internal lines to add more of a crease to an area. But for now, continue to play around with these shapes just to get something that you're happy with, experiment a little bit more with it, and then we'll just move on in the next lesson.